Jesse Kelly on I'm Right and I'm being held hostage. No, I'm kidding. the reason the reason it looks and sounds like this today is I'm traveling and look, I have a million and one excuses. I'm sorry it doesn't look like our normal professional setup here on I'm Right, but we had to give you this is what I think about last night. All right. One, everyone's down today on the right. Everyone's down today. And I'm not going to put rose colored glasses on it. So I'm going to address that if you're down today in just a moment. I want to open with something different, though. This is something that is not going to be surprising to you. It's something we discuss all the time on this show. I know it can be heavy and dark, but when you accept the reality of what I'm saying, it's not quite as heavy. We are not a nation anymore. We're not. We were, and then we got rich, fat, and bored, and we got too complacent, and we allowed communist subversives to come in and take over every single institution in the country. Your child can't watch Nick Jr. without getting cultural Marxist propaganda piped into their eyes and ears. We lost the cultural institutions. Now, just hang with me before I'll get to Heavy D and Trump and the good stuff and the bad stuff and everything else. Just hang with me. We have to understand this because it puts last night into context. When they've taken over all the cultural institutions, they now influence huge portions of the country, gigantic portions of the country. Because when you control all of them, you control the eyes and ears of what percentage of Americans? You have to be like you or me and openly distrust these institutions to have a chance at seeing the news. Normal people go to their doctor and expect good medical advice. There are people, as we speak right now, at their pediatrician who's injecting their child with a clot shot for the 4th time. As we speak, that's happening right now. As we speak, there's a doctor in this country informing a teenage girl that, yes, actually, you should cut your breasts off and become a woman. When they take over every institution, those institutions are really what makes up a nation. Those are the pillars that make up a nation. A nation is made up of its institutions. And your society is going to be reflective of whatever those institutions incentivize and whatever those institutions disincentivize. I thought last night was going to be a bigger blowout than it was. You thought last night was going to be a bigger blowout than it was. Why is that? Because I lie to myself every single election. And I've got to learn to stop doing this, but I lie to myself. I get excited, and you probably do this too. You get excited, and I convince myself, okay, that person's insane, and that person's insane, and oh my goodness, this has to be freaking people out. People are going to go to the polls, and they're going to roundly reject this kind of insanity and communism. And these are the thoughts I have in my head. I mean, you hear me, I tell them to you every single night, and I'm right. No, they're not. The country isn't near as red as I want it to be, as you want it to be. Look, maybe a great way to explain this is this. I want you to remember COVID, and I want you to remember how many people not only accepted being locked down and shut down and everything else, how many people, the percentage of this country that cheered for it and demanded more of it. You looked at it, and I looked at it, and you thought, that's tyranny, that's wrong, what is this crap? They looked at it and said, yes, more. The country isn't as red as you want it to be, or I want it to be, because we lost all the institutions. We're producing new generations of people with no love of this country. In fact, a deep-seated hatred of this country, no appreciation for freedom. I didn't say this to bring you down. I said this because unless you understand that we are no longer a nation of 50 states, then nothing else will ever make sense to you. Communist subversives came in, and they've been working on these institutions for 100 years. You're not going to have one midterm election because the president's an idiot and reverse that. You're simply not going to do it. The country isn't that red. That's just the truth. We're not a nation. We're at least 2 different nations. We're a late stage republic. Now, on that point, two different nations. Last night, I do not view it as bad as so many people on the right view it as. Why? Because I've already told you we're getting a national divorce. Now, we're not going to do it the way I want to do it, where we sit down and we divide up the assets and, hey, you take California and I'll take that's not, I'm not naive. That's not going to happen. It's already happening nationally. Yes, states like Pennsylvania, very sad, are gone. Pennsylvania's gone. States like Florida are redder than they've ever been. Several red states are redder than they've ever been. Why? Because the people are already separating. They are already deciding, I want tyranny, I want freedom, and they're physically moving. The nation is already coming apart. Now, that sounds dark, but it's not. It's actually good when you accept that we lost the institutions. The fact that we're separating is good. We should separate. These two cultures cannot live together, and we should not live together. And what it does is it gives you options. It gives you options to still be able to move yourself and your family to a place where you can be surrounded by people who share your values, and your children to be educated by people who share your values, and you can shop with people who share your values. There are huge pockets of this country that want what you want and believe what you believe. But we have to understand and accept, as hard as it may be, there are huge portions of this country that do not want what you want. They don't look at the newest LGBTQ Disney movie and recoil and horror. They look at it and say, hey, there are portions of this country that are simply gone. The past 2 years, you've heard me use this term before, and I'm going to use it again because it is really helpful. It can be harsh, but it is helpful when you get it. We have had two great sortings. I call them great sortings. Basically, consider them stress tests. COVID was a great sorting for you and the people in your life. It was a sorting of the people in your life. You found out cousins, neighbors, brothers, sisters, fathers, sons, daughters, wives, husbands. You found out the people in your life, co-workers, the people in your life, you found out who were the tyrants. You found out who would sell you out to the feds in a heartbeat. You found out. It was a great sorting. I hope you took mental notes. The people in your life who lost their mind during COVID, you can never, ever trust them. And I told you leading up to this election, and I'll tell you again now, with Joe Biden as president, inflation being what it is, gas prices, crime out of control, with all these problems out there, if your area went to the polls last night and voted Democrat again, your area is gone. I'm sorry. And it's not lost on me what that means. People have family histories and jobs and just, I know what that means. I've moved across the country several times. I don't say this just move. I don't say it as if it's something I haven't done, or I say it as, I don't say it as if it's something I don't know what it means. I know what it means. If your area went blue last night, it's gone.